Hello, this is Ashley, the Boot Babe, and we are live on Western Fashion Behind the Scenes with a very special guest today. This is Tiffany Williams. She is a ranch wife and a mother. She's also an entrepreneur. I'm so excited to talk to her today about her hat that she has on. Welcome, Tiffany.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
It is exciting. Tell me where you're from and where you live right now.
I am from a little bitty town in the very far southeast corner of Oklahoma called Garvin. So we literally have one convenience store, no stoplight.
And you live there now.
There now. Yes.
I love this about you, right? I'm from Preston, Idaho, which is the middle of nowhere also. And so I appreciate the middle of nowhere living. You have a hat on that says Fancy Rancher. And so we have the podcast that you can listen to, and then you can also watch it on YouTube. So if you're listening to this, make sure you go to the YouTube to check out her hat. It says Fancy Rancher. And for me, this is the moment where you go, okay, hello, the world is embracing Western. If you didn't see that Taylor Swift won the Super Bowl, you missed it. She did, because she got the whole world to look at the Western culture. Even if we don't want to admit that, she brought an entire audience to see this amazing unfolding of cowboys and culture around it. So tell me about your hat and why you made it and what you got going on.
Okay. Way back history, as in my childhood, my mom was very fancy, but she was also very Western. I'm talking every color of Rocky Mountains you could imagine, the brush poppers, the all that. I saw that. I would have the senior girls. I thought they wanted to be my friend when I was seventh, eighth grade. No, they just wanted to bring me home so they could raid my mom's closet so they could go out on the weekend. So pretty much every Thursday, Friday night, I got to ride home with the seniors to raid her fancy closet. And then my aunt and uncle actually lived on a ranch growing up. Like that's the life that I wanted. I mean, my brother high school rodeoed. Everybody around us had horses. So I didn't actually grow up with my own horse because my brother's quite a bit older than me. So yeah, I just combined the two as far as like the fancy dressing up and then the ranch lifestyle. But funny story, my best friend was over and my husband comes in who's 100% rancher country, white t-shirt though, and work jeans. He doesn't do the long sleeve. He says he thinks that's ridiculous. He's like, it's too hot for all that. But anyhow, he come in and asked for his coffee a very specific way, and my best friend called him the fancy rancher. So technically, I guess he got the name said out loud to him first, and I was like, so clever. So I just ran with it.
I love this. How long have you been making the hats?
I actually just started them, oh goodness, maybe 2 months ago, not very long.
I love this. And you've had some fun success. Tell me about how you've connected with other women and how it's inspired people.
Yeah, I'm a talker, and if Wested's Bruno put something on her story, I've always slid up and said something back. And thankfully, I've done that since a lot of those girls first started out, so they actually see my messages. Actually, I was behind on Neon Wrangler, but she's has a few of my hats. Maddie McCall, I actually just found her, and thankfully, she's saw my messages and she's got a hat. I'm just naturally chatty, and so it's worked out to get a few hats in the hands of those awesome girls that are representing the Western fashion.
Yes, I love this. Those are
And you
women. Oh, you're so sweet. And yes, I was able to get a few of your hats and I was doing some like market research and I live in Idaho. So lots of ranches. I grew up on a horse ranch in the middle of nowhere, Idaho. So a lot of the women in my life were like, okay, we have to have this. Cause I'm
right.
like a testing group. I try not to be crazy exposing things because there's so much competitiveness in this industry. So I want people to really get a great experience. Like I want you to sell out of caps every time you put them on. It's the cheerleading experience that you deserve, that every woman deserves if they're going to put their heart and soul into something. So I was excited to see the response from my little core group of testing things as we've gotten to know each other more. I feel like this is really a bigger play of helping women with their confidence and inspiring them that they can be and act and have and say what they need to be all of who they are. Am I wrong?
No, you're so good about it too. I see you comment on so many people's stuff. I'm like, oh, she is so nice. There needs to be more people like you that just it takes 2 seconds to compliment, especially like us little people that don't have a lot of followers. You just make our day.
That's kind. I think that there is something to be said for just being genuine and authentic, reading things. I like to read. I'm more of an educator. Like I call it edutainment. So for me,
Yep.
I know that people are reading the comments. What's the first thing someone does when they go to a post? They read the comments. That's just naturally people are curious. And if you can tap into communicating with people that way, there's a lot of money to be made on Instagram, first of all, but there's a lot of people to be served, right? Okay, so I can't wait to talk about your inspiration right now. Who are you inspired by, and how are you creating?
So random and out of my norm, but Milton Manesco, like, I never would have thought. I don't know, I love it. If she posts something, I'm like, "Goodness, Shaylee's always on point with everything," and I like, my inner self has a little bit neon Wranglers, so I love her. And then I have a few friends that aren't necessarily big yet, but I just love their style, and Ashley Sorrells is one of them. She has that little bit Milton vibe to her too. So, yeah, the clean, that's what I've been, like, leaning into lately, which is usually not me.
I would call it like a corporate cowgirl aesthetic. It's very high fashion, if nothing else for this
Yeah,
industry. It's more high fashion than the typical Western fashion. And it creates an ambiance, right? There's a wow factor to so
yeah.
like there is a wow factor to it. So I appreciate that. When you're not doing fancy rancher, tell us a little bit about your daily life. What's going on?
Oh, goodness, it is not fancy. That's where the ranchy part comes in. We have cross cattle, which luckily my husband usually takes care of all that now. I'll go with him and unwrap hay and all that. I need to really get better on the tractor so I can just sit on the tractor and let him unwrap the hay. But we have horses. I've got 2 from Rescue Kill Pen. One of them's a 28-year-old mule who literally thinks he runs the place. And then I've got a little colt that I'm gonna try to do everything myself on. That's like a childhood dream, train him from a colt up, and then hopefully he'll be safe to ride when he gets bigger. And then I also just got a fainting goat that's on the bottle still, and I have a little brimmer heifer that's on the bottle also, and chickens. So, yeah, my day usually consists of getting the kids to school and then getting all the babies fed.
Okay, this is so funny because oh my gosh, you have a rescue and a farm.
Oh, yeah.
And a
I'm
ranch.
sorry.
I love it all though, but
It's
every girl wants that. You have every girl's dream. Tell me
Yeah,
more.
it's not baby season yet, so I didn't think about my wildlife just yet, but they should be trickling in. I hope. I normally always get whitetail. Everyone around here knows I love skunks, so if anyone sees or finds like a baby abandoned or wounded skunk, like I usually get those. And I have a fox. He was a rescue that is just not releasable, so he'll just live out his life here.
Oh, like a red fox?
He's a gray.
Is it gray? Oh my
Gray.
gosh. And he lives in your
Yeah,
house?
so
Or he lives
sticks the
outside?
Oh no, he smells bad.
Oh yeah, okay, but the
So
people should know about this. They're like, "I want a fox." You're like, "No, you don't. Not inside your house."
No, absolutely not. No, you do not. And they're terrible in the house. I've tried it a couple of times with one because I've you can actually buy them from breeders, which I don't suggest doing that now that I've tried it. But yeah, they a skunk is actually a really good house pet if you buy them from a breeder that are decented. So they use the litter box and everything like a cat, and they won't get on your kitchen cabinets like a cat.
It's the biggest fancy rancher conversation I've ever had. You are the ultimate fancy rancher. You're like, "Get a skunk, decent, and put it in your house." Fancy ranches.
Oh, they're the best. I
Of
kept one in
course.
the house for a while that was not decented because she was wild. She never sprayed in here, but I have kids, and so we're like, man, one wrong movement one day and she could just explode because they have to release that every once in a while. So it's just not safe to keep one that is not decented in the house. Although I would love to.
Oh my gosh, your kids are you have 3? How
Okay, my daughter is she'll be 7 in July, and we actually adopted her because we could not get pregnant and stay pregnant. We lost twins very early in a pregnancy and then eventually just turned to adoption. We both had a heart for it anyways. So got her. She could not be any more perfect. She has one green eye, one blue eye. My husband has green eyes. I have blue eyes. So tell me God did not pick this child for us. And she's also left-handed, and my mother-in-law is left-handed, so she's just so unique. And then she was about 1.5 or so, and I asked my husband, I was like, "Let's put into adopt again," because I could go on and on about adoption, but if you put into adopt, like, you shouldn't really pick a preference because most birth moms that go in, they don't know what they're having yet. They don't wanna pick you, and then you'd be like, "Oh, no, I really wanted a boy or I really wanted a girl." So I knew going in that if we wanted a boy, that it could take longer for us to get a birth mom because of that reason. So anyhow, I asked my husband in September if he wanted to go ahead and put in to adopt so we could potentially eventually get a little boy. And he was like, I don't know if I'm ready yet. In October 22nd, on my mom's birthday, and my mom passed away when I was 14, I took a pregnancy test and I was pregnant and had the most amazing pregnancy. Like, I loved it up until the very end when I thought my ankles were gonna get stretch marks. I'd not get stretch marks anywhere else. So and that is how my little boy come along, and so, yeah, Carmony and Crockett are their names. Carmen and Tiffany make Carmony, but it's basically Carmen's name with a Y on it, and then Crockett, where my husband's an avid hunter.
If you watch the podcast on the YouTube, my mouth is just on the floor because I can cry my little eyes out because how many women don't they give up and they just think, "Oh, I'm not gonna keep trying because it might be me," and it's never you, it's always God. There's a
Right.
plan, there's a way bigger plan, we don't
Yeah.
never know the plan, and it's amazing to hear your faith that you were willing to just keep going, persevering, trusting yourself because you knew internally your
Yeah.
intuition was telling you, like, "This is the right thing, this is the right thing."
Yeah.
So how
It's a
old are
good
they now?
How old am I?
No, how old are they? Sorry, you can tell me how
Oh,
old you are if you want to, because
no,
it would
I
be
would say how old
inspiring to women. It would be inspiring to women because a lot of women try to have babies for a long time or
I didn't have Crockett until I was 36, and he's gonna be 5 this summer, so that kinda tells my age.
okay.
But yeah, he will be his birthday is June 24th, and hers is July 23rd, so they're look like they're super close to the same age just for that month, and then she'll turn 7. So they'll be 5 and 7 this summer.
That's amazing.
And they're
Tiffany,
literally the same size. My boy is so tall and she's built like a little gymnast, just a little bitty thing with just solid muscle.
I love this. I am so grateful that you are being an amazing mom. This is such an inspiring thing. So many women do listen to this podcast. We have a lot of moms and they talk about how they do their life and how they do it with kids and they have their business. And it's amazing that you get to raise them on a ranch in the middle of
Oh,
nowhere.
such a good life. Like I can't imagine any other way for them. They have the best little life, and I tell them all the time. Like, "Does they not realize how wonderful this life is?" They do. They love it. They just run and just barefoot and all the time.
What kind of advice would you give to moms that are going through the pregnancy cycle of figuring it out?
Oh, goodness. I could talk adoption all day long. I could talk pregnancy and loss and all of that all day long. Just don't give up. Once they put that baby in your arms, like all of the pain and suffering that you've been going through, you just forget it. It's literally gone. So just keep praying and believing God will grant you the desires of your heart.
Yeah, whether it's through adoption or through pregnancy,
Right.
whenever that baby comes into your arms, it's powerful. And I know
Yeah.
that this episode's going to change a lot of people's minds and hearts because it's important to speak from that place. And I feel like that's what fashion is. Fashion is an expression of who you are. And this is an episode about your fancy rancher hats, right? That's why we got you on here. And little did I know, I had no idea what you were going to tell me today. And that's how it always goes. It's always very intuitively led. And so I want for you to tell me before we leave, where did you get your first pair of cowboy boots? I have to ask about this.
Probably when I was born or before I was born. I've seen them in my baby pictures, just little tiny boots, but gosh, I get that would definitely be then. I don't
You've
even
had them
remember.
your whole life. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's inspiring and interesting, right? Do you remember the first pair you ever got when you were a teenager and you were like, these are the most, these are so cool?
Okay, so in high school, I showed animals, and I actually didn't wear boots in high school. Those Justin Chuckas were in, and they were so comfortable. I showed in those, but to wash my hogs and my lambs and my heifer, I would wear the Doc Martin, like, work boot looking things. I actually didn't wear, like, fancy boots much in high school. Seems like all my pictures I had the Justin Chuckas on.
Have you seen Ranch Her? Do you know this woman?
Yeah, I think
Art
she just started
YouTuber?
following me. Familiar.
Okay, I'm excited because she has like a crepe stole that she does chores in. I don't know. Fallon Taylor just said that she loved them. It was so fun and cool and interesting because she like goes outside and works in them, and then you can hose them off, and
What?
they're really cool. And they have cowhide ones and regular ones. It's the Lachera. It's like this style.
Oh, I'm looking those up. Because
Yeah,
right now, my husband's old work boots. He just asked me last week, "So these don't leak when you go feed in them?" I'm like, "No." So he put his old work boots back on to go let the horses back out. I'm like, "No, not so far."
oh my gosh, Tiffany, you're so fun. It's amazing to talk to someone and really get to know the personalities, right? And the depths of who they are. You're having a women's retreat. I want to talk about this before we
Oh,
be done here. So,
put it on your schedule. You need to be here.
okay, tell me a little bit about it. Tell me what that is.
Okay, so I've always went to different women's conferences here and there, and they're always like in a church setting and floral arrangements on the tables and just beautiful. And I've always wanted to do that, but I just cannot see myself up on stage in church. We go to church every Sunday. Bless those girls that get up there and sing, but that is just not me. I'm friends with Leanne Hart, and she was one to really talk to too, also about babies and adoption. But I went to her house for it was just one night. We tent camped. She's got like a big, they call it a lake, I call it a pond, but just a huge water. So, anyways, we tent camped around that. So we had a word that night. We did praise and worship around the campfire. The next morning we had breakfast, we hung out, we did a devotional, and everyone went on their way. And I was like, now this I can do. I can do this outside thing. And my husband's always had this vision for our ranch to bring in people for he wants to do like kids camps and such with he has a heart for teenagers and they're going through tough times and stuff. He does some stuff at the local schools, but I honestly can't believe that I beat him to doing something on our ranch. But I did last year. We had our first one. People started showing up around 2 or 3 o'clock, set up tents. I had one girl she just brought a sleeping bag and slept in the back of her truck. We have a really big pond here and it has a little one room cabin. So we had people could actually go in and use bathroom. I didn't have to use porta potties. So I could go in and take a bath, take a shower. We was able to make coffee. My husband grilled everyone burgers the night before. The next morning, he cooked all the eggs and bacon and toast and brought down there to us. And it was just wonderful. Leanne spoke. The girls from our church sang praise and worship. And then the next morning, we had a devotion and everyone went on about their way. And my husband was asking one of my good friends, he was like, what do you think? What do we need to do different next year? What can be better? And she was like, I think it needs to be 2 nights. And I was like, say no more. Let's do this. So we've got it set to do 2 nights. So everybody can show up Friday. I'm telling everyone that has horses, they can bring their horses and trail ride on the ranch or walk, go hiking, whatever. And then we have kayaks and stuff. Our pond's really big. And so, yeah, we're gonna try to just make it an all weekend event this time.
It's so exciting. What days is it?
It is Memorial Day weekend. I'm not sure
Okay.
the actual dates.
And then maybe we'll find a
Yeah,
link to that event and I'll put it in the podcast.
perfect.
And who would you say that this event is for? Who is the ideal person and how many people do you think are going to be there? Let's talk about it.
Last year, I think my husband cooked 54 burgers and they were all gone. So and I like most of the women only ate one. I probably ate two, but so I think last year we had around 40 to 50 women, but just Christian moms, wives, single ladies. It was just a good time just to connect with the Lord and connect with like-minded ladies and learn and grow together.
Yeah, I really appreciate that because I think there's a lot of women saying, is this for me? How do I go? And I would say that,
There's no pressure. I know some people feel uncomfortable in some church settings or something. So it's just very laid back. And Leanne is so good. Like on her, if you follow her on Instagram, she'll connect the bulls got out of a pen and she'll be like, that reminded me of a story and whatever. And I'm like, man, how does she do that? And so
you're
she'll give a whole
very,
Bible
very
lesson.
cathartic storyteller. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I love that about her. Tiffany, Memorial Day weekend, what's it called? The event?
It is called Redeemed Ranch Retreat.
Redeemed Ranch Retreat. Okay. And what's the cost?
There is no cost. It's a donation only. Last year I had t-shirts made. So the t-shirts went to Leanne and our church actually donated the beef. Our preacher raises cattle also. Our church donated the beef for the burgers. And yeah, we just went by donation. And this year I'm going to have 2 speakers. So I may do caps and t-shirts just so I can make sure to give them enough.
That's so exciting. I love this. Do you want to spill the beans about who your speakers are? Or is Leanne coming back?
Leanne is coming back.
Okay.
Yes. In Heart. And then Leslie James. She is from Winsboro, Texas, which is a very small town also. And their church is Grace. I think it's just Grace. But she's the one who always put on the women's conferences that I went to from years past. And she is a little powerhouse now.
I love this. I'm so excited for your event and I'm excited to get to know those women. And so I will make sure that we share this on this podcast. And it's a great way to share the fancy rancher expression of life with people. When does your website launch and how can I get a fancy rancher cap?
Okay, the website is www.fancyrancherctw.com and it is launching Valentine's Day.
Okay. I'm
It
so
will be
excited.
locked again, probably in about 2 weeks, but it looks pretty full right now, but there'll be lots of new summer colors and such coming.
So thanks for being on today, Tiffany.
Yeah, thank you so much. I've enjoyed it.
You're welcome. This is Ashley, and we have been live on Western Fashion Behind the Scenes. Today, you heard from Tiffany Williams. She is a fancy rancher and the creator of the Fancy Rancher cap. We're going to do a giveaway for this Fancy Rancher cap. So if you're listening to this podcast, make sure you go give it a 5-star review and follow the instructions so that you can win a cap. This is Ashley the Boot Babe, and we are live on Western Fashion Behind the Scenes. Thanks for listening, and remember, it's always a good time to wear cowboy boots.